Welcome to Should You Play, the series where I break down a role-playing game that you might not be familiar with using 5 categories to see if it's something you and your friends might be interested in checking out. Today we'll be looking at Sentinel Comics, the role-playing game, also known as the Sentinels of the Multiverse RPG. As always, we start with the pitch. The pitch for Sentinel Comics is very simple. It's a tabletop RPG version of the popular Sentinels of the Multiverse card game. If you're not familiar with Sentinels of the Multiverse, it's a cooperative card game where each player takes on the role of a superhero and uses a special deck of cards specifically designed for that hero, and all of the players work together to defeat a supervillain. The card game is well known for its modular nature. Each superhero has their own deck of cards, each villain has their own deck of cards, and each location has its own unique deck of cards too, and by mixing and matching the heroes and villains and locations, you get many different play experiences. Genre and setting. The Sentinel Comics RPG takes place in a modern world that's heavily influenced by DC and Marvel Comics. Specifically, the Sentinel setting leans more towards the Silver Age of comics, with larger-than-life heroes who battle clearly defined villains as opposed to the more morally gray Iron Age. That said, there's nothing keeping a GM from using this rule set for darker, grittier games if that's what they want. Core mechanics. The Sentinel Comics RPG uses a standard set of role-playing dice from D4s to D12s, but has 3 special mechanics: the GYRO system for tracking scene intensity, a min-mid-max system for die results, and the inclusion of the environment as being mechanically relevant. We'll look at each of these in turn, starting with the GYRO system. GYRO is an acronym that stands for green, yellow, red, and out. Each action scene within the game uses a special scene tracker that measures the intensity and danger of the scene and divides the scene into 3 zones based on the number of rounds that have passed. You start in the green zone, then progress into the yellow zone, and then to the red zone. Each round of combat progresses the tracker 1 space, and each hero also sets their own individual GYRO status based on their health. For example, this hero enters the yellow stage when they are reduced to 24 health, and then into the red stage when they hit 11 health. Each hero's individual GYRO status is the greater of the scene tracker or their health. So if this hero had 10 hit points during the 4th round of combat, they would have a red status. With each new zone, the heroes are pushed harder and gain access to new powers and abilities. For example, Superman always pulls his punches at the start of a fight and doesn't unleash his full might unless he's desperate or knows it will not kill his opponent. Likewise, the Hulk gets stronger as he becomes angrier, so he smashes harder when he's in the red zone than when he's in the green. Each hero has a list of powers and abilities as you might expect, but they are unlocked as they progress through the GYRO stages, so a character begins the combat in the green stage and can only use green abilities. Once they are in the yellow stage, they can use any of their green or yellow abilities, and when they are in the red stage, they can use all of their abilities. The main resolution mechanic in Sentinel Comics is the min-mid-max system. When rolling tests, you typically form a dice pool with 3 dice. You start with 1 die based on your GYRO status, then choose 1 power die and 1 quality die. Qualities are things like skills, experiences, and special traits. For example, Rockstar's player says she wants to encase her fist in solid stone and punch the bad guy. She would make a pool of 3 dice. First would be from her GYRO status. We'll say she's green, so her die pool starts with a D10. She wants to punch somebody, which sounds like she's using her Wicked solo ability, and that says attack with strength. So she's using her strength power, which adds a D8. And last we choose the most appropriate quality for the die pool, and this would be her close combat quality, which adds another D8. So her final dice pool for this attack is 1 D10 and 2 D8s. She rolls the 3 dice but does not add their results together. Instead, she lines them up on the table lowest to highest. Say she rolls a 3 on the d10, a 7 on the first d8, and a 5 on the second d8. She would line these up by numerical result, 3, 5, and 7. Each of those dice are then applied the min, mid, and max labels. Her min die for this check is 3, her mid die for the check is 5, and her max die for the check is 7. Unless otherwise stated, the mid die is used to apply the effect, so here Rockstar deals 5 points of damage. But if Rockstar was within the red zone, she could instead use her power chord ability that lets her add her mid and max die together to determine the damage. In that case, she would have dealt 12 damage. The next special mechanic involves the environment. In the Sentinels Comics RPG, the environment isn't just fluff and description for where a battle takes place. Instead, the environment itself has its own stat block and is an active participant in the scene. For example, if the scene takes place on a Mars base, it has its own stat sheet with a number of events, qualities, and event dice. Every round, the environment takes a turn appropriate for the scene's gyro status. If the scene is green, the base's life support might go offline, and the players have a limited amount of time to fix it before jumping straight to the end of the scene tracker. If the scene is in the yellow zone, more enemies might join the fight, and in the red zone, the base might start a self-destruct sequence. Having the environment play an active role in the scene adds another layer to the narrative and will feel very familiar to those who have played the Sentinels of the Multiverse card game. Character creation and advancement. Sentinel Comics RPG uses a table-based character creation method. You can either roll on the table if you don't have a firm concept for the character in mind, or you can just choose the most appropriate item from each table if you do have a fully fleshed out hero concept in mind. You start with the backgrounds table that gives you 20 options, each of which provide 2 qualities for the character. Next, you use the power sources table to determine where your powers came from. There are again 20 power source options here, and each of them provides a few options for selecting your powers. Then you roll for your archetypes, which are sort of commonly themed sets of powers. Again, there are 20 options here, each of which provides a few more powers to add to your sheet. The next table is for your personality type, and this will determine your green, yellow, and red status dice. The character's personality will also determine their out ability. In Sentinel Comics, heroes rarely die. Instead, when they reach 0 health, they are considered out, which is the O in GYRO. Being out means you no longer take actions on your turn, but you can still interact with the scene and help your allies by using your out ability. Again, this is a mechanic that will feel very familiar to those who have played the Sentinels of the Multiverse card game. And then you choose your red abilities. These are grouped by power type, but are never rolled randomly. Instead, they are always chosen. The final step in character creation is an optional phase called Retcon, where you can make a few minor tweaks and swap scores between abilities if the table generation did not fully represent your vision of the character. And Sentinel Comics does not use a traditional means of advancement. There are no experience points that are earned or karma that's spent powering up abilities. This game's view of advancement is not aimed at becoming more powerful, but instead in reflecting how a character changes through their experiences. Every 6 or so play sessions, players are allowed to make tweaks to their heroes, swapping out one power for another or one quality for another. This keeps the hero roughly the same power level, but can reflect growth and change as you often see in comic books. One possible example of this might be how Spider-Man's powers changed when he wore the original Venom costume. These kinds of changes can be handled by swapping around powers and qualities. Price and availability. The Sentinel Comics RPG can be purchased through the Greater Than Games website and other online vendors. The core rulebook retails for $59.99, but at the time of this recording they are offering it for only $42. However, I will say that may just be a Black Friday deal that's expected to expire soon. They also offer a beginner's box called the Starter Kit that retails for $19.99. This set includes a 6-part adventure, 6 pre-gen characters, and a condensed rulebook to get you rolling. These books are also available as PDFs from Drive-Thru RPG, $29.95 for the core rules, or $9.95 for the starter kit. So there you have it, a quick breakdown of Sentinel Comics the role-playing game to help you decide if it's worth checking out further. If you have any questions about this game, please leave them in the comments. Also, if you've played Sentinel Comics before, please share your thoughts about it in the comments as well. And as always, I want to take a brief moment to say thank you to everyone out there who supports me, whether that's by leaving your comments and suggestions, clicking the like button, buying a super thanks, subscribing to the channel, subscribing to the Patreon. Thank you so much for everything you do to support me. And with that, thanks for watching, take care, and happy gaming.